Given a week for word to spread, the Trump administration's May 9th announcement of what was headlined as a rollback of water pressure standards, i.e. mandates, on appliance makers is beginning to reveal itself to many Americans as what it is, a wider withdrawal of many onerous so-called standards that increased costs for makers and buyers, restricted choice, assumed bureaucrats know better than market participants, and pushed an unconstitutional so-called green agenda that has no foundation in reality. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and here's the story. As J.D. Tucille reports for Reason, the presidential memorandum, not exactly an executive order and clearly not a piece of legislation, and really just a note telling inferior bureaucratic agencies that this is what he would like to see them do. Well, the memorandum could sow more fruitful seeds to reduce many other federal mandates. Tucille notes that the memorandum, quote, directs the Secretary of Energy to reveal and rescind or revert to the minimum standards required by statute, rules that limit water use in shower heads, faucets, dishwashers, toilets, urinals, and washing machines to clarify the scope of federal preemption of state rules for water use in appliances, and to pause enforcement of any rules mentioned in the memorandum until they are rescinded or revised. It also directs the Secretary of Energy to work with Congress to repeal intrusive laws that dictate water usage and efficiency standards to Americans, end quote. And for many Americans, this is a positive move, a shift in the wicked winds fanned at us by Uncle Sam. Tucille quotes well-known economist Alex Tarabach as one of the many diligent people who, like those of us who have been writing on this at MRC-TV for a long time, have tried to alert people to the economic drag this kind of attack on constitutionalism and freedom represents. Why did today's dishwashers typically take more than 2 hours to run through a normal cycle when less than an hour was common in the past? George Mason University economics professor Alex Tarabach wrote in January of 2024, the reason is absurd energy and water conservation rules. These rules, imposed on dish and clothes washers, have made these products perform worse than in the past, cleaning less well or much more slowly, end quote. Which runs completely counter to what consumers in the market tell makers and sellers. As a rule, consumers tell makers they want more for less. They want better quality, greater availability, and lower costs and waste. And often they want variations of those attributes which market sellers and inventors compete to provide, leading to lower costs, greater availability, less need for resources, and greater living standards overall. This in turn leaves consumers with savings which can be invested in new, never-seen inventions and endeavors, but instead of allowing us to decide what we want for our living standards and allowing us the freedom to exercise our rights to engage in freedom of association and exchange, U.S. administrations going back a century have engaged in command and control, diktat, fiat, fascism, and usurpation. They deem themselves greater than you, wiser and nearly omniscient, blessed with the power to control the market and the makers, the sellers and the buyers. Tucille reports that the Trump signals harmonize with important congressional moves, pieces of legislation required to change the oppressive direction of the Bidenistas and former Congresses. Quote, Fortunately, Congress sent to the White House and Trump signed laws repealing Biden administration energy conservation standards for commercial refrigerators and freezers, restrictions on gas-fired tankless water heaters, and an energy conservation program for appliances. In terms of freeing the market from government interference, these legislative changes come closer to permanence than presidential directives to executive agencies can by themselves, end quote. Which brings us to the final message in all of this. There not only is no provision in the Constitution allowing the federal government to dictate shower heads or the energy efficiency of appliances, there not only is no provision allowing the feds to dictate to sellers what they peacefully might try to offer to us to continue to run a Department of Energy or any other agency created through their deceptive reimagining of the Interstate Commerce Clause is offensive and immoral. Most of all, even if the politicians amended that ruling framework of the Constitution and inserted new words to supposedly allow this kind of offensive, aggressive activity, it wouldn't be moral. It would be gangland action with a piece of paper backing it. We have the right to be left alone, period. No one has a right to tell you what you can or cannot buy or sell. Buying or selling something is not an aggressive act. The act of aggression comes in the form of people in government issuing their edicts rather than entering the market to peacefully offer you something. But just like government has done for centuries, they tell you they protect you, even as they are the ones engaging in threats. Perhaps these changes will help more people see the force and aggression at the heart of all political expansions. And perhaps more people will push for peace and market exchange as an alternative. Thanks for watching, everyone. Please like and subscribe. Find us on TikTok, on Instagram, on X, in Facebook, and of course at MRC-TV all the time. Share the videos from Rumble. Head over to MRC-TV.org and find out what the whole team is doing there, and please consider contributing. You can find us also on, yes, you got it, YouTube, where they still censor people, and just double check that you're still subscribed there. And if you get the opportunity to share from Rumble, that is great because they don't censor us. And of course, if you want to find me, you can find me on Gab as @GardnerGoldsmith, and on X, you can find me as @GardGoldsmith. Thanks for watching, everyone. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.